I'm trying to transfer over, or cross over in the sport of Olympic weightlifting, as a collegiate athlete or a former collegiate athlete, what do I need to prepare for? And I think that question is pretty loaded because different sports are going to have different, modes of preparation. So if I'm a wrestler and I want to get into weightlifting, I view wrestlers as very good athletes to cross over into weightlifting because they have that mindset. They understand technique, they understand movement very, very well. They're typically very mobile. The downfall is they're very internally rotated from being in their stances, from always being in their stance. So sometimes they might have a little bit of shoulder issues, but at the end of the day, they can transfer well because of the mental preparation. If we're talking about a basketball player who wants to cross over, basketball players who want to cross over are going to have to acknowledge that there's a lot of continuous mental stress. There's a lot of continuous mental focus on technique. And you have to learn how to balance the mental aspect of Olympic weightlifting, which is this long, grueling, grinding sport similar to weightlifting, or similar to wrestling, similar to swimming, similar to distance running, where it's just like bang your head against the wall all the time, similar to throwing, where you're constantly banging your head against the wall, and then you get a breakthrough technique-wise. And it's just like that from the strength world. Bang your head, bang your head, bang your head, and all of a sudden you make these tremendous strength gains as well. But so then you can get into the gymnastics portion that these athletes are crossing over into weightlifting pretty well for the most part, and that's another scenario. It's like you just have to be prepared from the mental side that it's a challenging sport. I got an email this morning, Dane, why do you have this program set up this way? The first 3 days of the week, I train very well, but the last 2 days of the week, I feel like trash. And that's typical. That's a typical scenario that stimulates long-term growth, that stimulates long-term technical growth, and also long-term strength growth. So I think that at the end of the day, every single sport has some semblance of transfer into the sport of Olympic weightlifting, except for distance running and more aerobic-based sports. But it has to come back to, are you prepared for the mental challenge that's in front of you? The grueling hours in the gym, the grueling hours of analyzing technique, the grueling hours of studying other people's technique, and then the grueling hours of finding the coach who can also apply a technical model to you, and it makes it more fun and also makes it challenging at the same time. And then prepare for the fact that you're going to be beat up, your back's going to be sore, your knees are going to be a little bit sore, your shoulders, your elbows, and you have to prepare for maintaining proper nutrition, maintaining proper mobility, maintaining meditation so that your brain is in the right headspace. Maintaining all of these things, because that is the stuff that leads to developing a champion in the realm of Olympic weightlifting, and they all factor in, and you have to be prepared on the end game. What is the end goal? What is the end game? I want to get to that point. It's going to take 2 or 3 years to get there, and today starts the day when I have to begin with all of these challenges, and I have to embrace these challenges and let these challenges come to me and accept the fact that I am going to deal with the significant amount of discomfort so that I can become a champion. Okay, so how well will CrossFitters transfer over? Heaven forbid I talk about CrossFitters because everybody hates them, except for me. Dude, my experience has shown that the CrossFitters that I've got have transferred over quite well to weightlifting. One, there's more and more research that shows that like a certain type of aerobic fitness or exercise does have a positive impact on anaerobic activity, a certain type. It has to be very specific. So with that being said, using CrossFit, and how does CrossFit transfer over? What can these CrossFitters expect? They can expect that because CrossFit is like a go, go, go type system or competitive system, it's always a go, go, go competitive model, is that weightlifting is a slow, slow, slow competitive model. You've got to, going into competition right away, the comps are considerably slower than CrossFit competition. They might not be as long, but it's a lot more drawn out. The action takes a little bit longer to develop. It's a little bit more lonely. You know, it's just like getting a football player to transfer over to, a football player that transfers over to Olympic weightlifting is gonna struggle with the fact that there's not as much rah-rah stuff. There's not as much back rubbing. There's not as much, you know, hey, you did it today. You know, you're great. I'm so proud of you. You're the best. In weightlifting, you don't get that. Weightlifting, you hit a PR, you move on. You know, you fail 3 times, you gotta deal with it. And you gotta figure out what's the logic behind that. And I think that that's the one struggle that CrossFitters have, is that they come over and in CrossFit, if they fail, they can just keep going and try it again. And they can sort of muscle things through. In weightlifting, it's not that way. You can't just keep trying it and trying it again. And you have to have a much more technical balance. And that's why I do think that the most technically sound weightlifters in CrossFit tend to be so successful. Using Matt Fraser is a great example. You know, Camille LeBlanc is another example. These are excellent weightlifters. And the chick from Australia, I think she just won the CrossFit Games, another great weightlifter that also competed in Olympic weightlifting on the international stage. I think she won the Commonwealth Games as well. So these are all athletes that understand the technical concepts in Olympic weightlifting, and ultimately the best CrossFitters in the world understand that too. It's the remedial novice level CrossFitters that don't get that. They don't get the technical aspects, and they sort of never really advance to that next level. So the biggest challenge has just become, it's not as much of a team thing, it's not as much as a rah-rah thing. It's mentally grueling just like CrossFit is. It's mentally challenging just like CrossFit is. You've got to keep track of your nutrition, you've got to keep track of your mobility, you've got to take care of your mental aspect, and that empty skull approach to competition, and that empty skull approach to training as well. And that's why they do so well together. But ultimately, you know, Olympic weightlifting it's just a different beast. Yeah, CrossFit is extremely hard, weightlifting is extremely hard, and if you're gonna transfer from one to the other, you have to have all those things in the back of your mind so that that transfer over to the other sport is a successful, seamless crossover that leads to a lot of fun and a lot of tremendous expectations and a lot of success, as you know, from the athletic perspective.